So thousands of civilians are feared trapped in the Sudanese city of el-Fasher and in imminent danger after paramilitary rapid support forces seized the city last Sunday. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul has described the situation as absolutely apocalyptic. Survivors who fled and reached the town of Tawila, about 70 kilometers away, spoke of mass killings, including of children, sexual violence, beatings and robberies. The UN says more than 65,000 people have fled el-Fasher, but tens of thousands remain. Mary Brace is a protection advisor with the NGO Nonviolent Peaceforce. She spoke to us from the Sudanese town of Tawila, where many survivors from el-Fasher have taken refuge.
I mean, the situation, it's heavy and it's quite difficult to see, really. The resources are very, very scarce. It's just the sheer volume of people who are here because the town it doesn't really have the infrastructure to support the hundreds of thousands of people who are here. It feels heavy because people are afraid of family members who they haven't heard from. Many have lost family members and have received the news, and any reunions we see are pretty bittersweet. But yeah, I mean, other than that, people are really struggling to just meet some basic needs in terms of food. Partners and communal kitchens are doing an astronomical job trying to provide at least one meal per day for newly arrived. But yeah, it's just quite heavy.
Right. I mean, do they share any information about what's happening in el-Fasher?
So it's quite difficult to know exactly in el-Fasher itself. The people who have been arriving in the last few days, many of them have been held in various locations across sort of the Bak area, in the Jebel Kusa, in a town called Gorne, and an area Shagara. These are the key locations where people have come from. And they've been held captive and then been released eventually after generally paying quite a large ransom.
And are they safe now? I mean, in Tawila, where you are people safe?
In general, yes. So we have been monitoring the situation closely, and we are aware that there are talks going on at higher levels to ensure that we are relatively secure here. When people arrive, there is a feeling of relief of like, okay, we are relatively safe here. So people in general, they say Alhamdulillah and are thankful to be here.
So, I mean, what's happening next? What do you expect to happen next? Will the people stay in Tawila? I mean, there's this refugee camp. Can they stay there? I mean, what will the future hold?
I mean, it is incredibly difficult. So, I mean, quite a lot of the people who are currently living in the camps in Tawila actually relocated from Zamzam, which was a refugee camp or internally displaced persons camp that had been there for many, many years. There are people who are moving on from Tawila further into the Jebel Mara area, perhaps to join family members. Some people we've spoken to who have arrived recently would like to return to el-Fasher, to their home, if it's possible to go. So it's unknown. The resources, as I said, are scarce here in Tawila. It's not ideal living conditions for anyone, but we will see.
Yeah. Well, Mary Brace from the NGO Nonviolent Peaceforce there, speaking to us from Tawila in Sudan. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's bring in Sudan researcher and policy analyst Hamid Khalafallah from the University of Manchester, who joins me now from Nairobi. Hamid, what exactly would drive nations such as, say, the UAE to get involved in this conflict?
Obviously, there's so many strategic interests that they all have in Sudan, in particular with regards to gold and other critical minerals, as well as agricultural land, and also ports and access to the Red Sea, as well as the Red Sea security. In particular for the United Arab Emirates, they have a lot of, imperial ambitions, if you will, which have motivated their engagement and their intervention, not only in Sudan, but in the entire region. And obviously, so many other countries, as your report mentioned, have these interests in Sudan. And that is what makes the responsibility of, what's happening in Sudan and in el-Fasher in particular over the past couple of days, not only on the rapid support forces, but also on the United Arab Emirates and other actors that continue to supply them with arms.
Give us an idea of why some nations are aligning themselves with the RSF and others, Sudan's armed forces.
Obviously, there's an interest from different countries who are engaging in Sudan, intervening in Sudan, and so on, to upend any attempts at establishing a civilian-led democratic governance in the country, because their interests are better served through military actors who would allow them to continue to exploit Sudan's resources and would give them easy access, facilitate all their interventions to exploit Sudan's resources. And for that reason, they would choose one armed movement over the other, whether the Sudanese armed forces or the rapid support forces. And there are a lot of calculations that go into that. For instance, countries that are more, friendly with the Islamist movement in Sudan and so on would align with the Sudanese armed forces because they're also close to the Sudanese Islamist movement. Others who are opposed to it would also work with the rapid support forces, but there are also other kind of more complicated relationships. For instance, the Egyptian army and the Sudanese armed forces have a very strong, alliance that goes back to decades, and the rapid support forces and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE have used the rapid support forces to fight the war in Yemen, as well as SAF, the Sudanese armed forces, to go fight in Yemen.
A lot of moving pieces here. How much do Sudan's warring factions depend on this external support?
They're completely dependent on it in terms of arms supplies, because both armed factions have sanctions against them, and it's very difficult for them to get, arms by themselves, particularly with arms embargo being imposed by different, countries and agencies across the globe and so on. So to access arms, they have to use their relationship with other external actors. But I think it's also important to realize that they also have their own resources internally. For instance, both of them are exporting Sudan's gold outside the official formal markets illegally and smuggling it out of the country and benefiting of it. Both of them have established very strong war economies that allow them to continue to finance this war. So part of it, they can manage themselves, but the access to the international part of the world and the extra financing that they need is completely dependent on external actors.
Sudan researcher Hamid Khalafallah, many thanks to you.
And joining me now is Christian Lindmeier. He's a spokesperson at the World Health Organization in Geneva. Christian, the WHO has published new details about the killings at el-Fasher's Saudi hospital. What are your findings?
Well, thanks for having me, Gerhard. It was must have been a horrifying attack on the hospital, and we have verified this through various sources. Because we don't have presence on the ground, as has no UN operation right now. There must have been at least 460 patients with their companions in this hospital. And the military, or no, not the military, that I have to be correct. The forces who came multiple times. Over the first month they came, or weeks they came at least 5-6 times. But on that particular day, they came at least 3 times. They first abducted 6 medical staff, doctors and nurses, killed some of the people around, came back a second time, apparently shot some people, and then came back at least the 3rd time and literally shot everybody around in the hospital, a maternity hospital, an obstetrical hospital, and including people sheltering there. So the 460 patients and their companions, plus people sheltering there. So the casualties must be much higher. And again, the reports say they came a 3rd time and just finished everyone off.
Now, what kind of help can the injured people receive in el-Fasher and the surroundings then?
That's very difficult because access for any humanitarian material, convoys or whatever is difficult, if not impossible right now. We have local NGOs and local partners still working there, but they need material, of course. They need supplies, medical supplies, I mean, anything, basically. Let's not forget, Darfur or el-Fasher doesn't only have that problem, which has been ongoing, as the humanitarian coordinator just said, for years, if not months now recently. There's a cholera outbreak, a measles outbreak, there's a dengue outbreak, there's a malaria outbreak, and we have polio now rising again. So all this on top of it, people fleeing or trying to flee if they can, being displaced, being shot on the way. Help is basically impossible right now. That's the problem. It needs peace, or at least a ceasefire to get to those people, or guarantees for convoys for truckloads to come in. That does not exist right now. So it's a devastating scenario.
Now, some survivors have made it into a refugee camp in the town of Tawila. What are you hearing from there?
So we don't have direct contact into this refugee camp, but they report from harrowing stories that I hear from other UN colleagues. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, for example, has collected some of these evidences of ongoing rape, similar like in your report just now, mass rapes, mass killings, and deliberate picking of boys, of men, and shooting them. So it's a devastating, horrifying scenario. And I have to repeat what the report just said. This is something we have known for months, if not years, and the international community has been more or less silent. Not the UN. Now, we have been warning about it so long.
You just mentioned it. The Sudan war has in many ways been overshadowed by the wars in Ukraine and also in Gaza. What can be done to keep the international spotlight on Sudan?
Unfortunately, a scenario like this, which we had now with the hospital, sheds light on it. It's a bit a Srebrenica effect in a very, very bad sense, unfortunately, very cynical. Let's just hope that these people have not suffered and died in vain, that this now finally gives attention. And your map just showed it. There are many international players here on the scene who have various interests and apparently also bring support to one group or the other. This must end. This must end today. But we also know that this won't end today. But the international community, those with power here, have to do their utmost to get this to stop.
Christian Lindmeier there, spokesman at the World Health Organization in Geneva. Thank you very much for this.